this time last year. I was looking for someone to help me with my young thoroughbred, and as I was trying to train him for dressage, and could not find a good local instructor that I could trust, and was fortunate enough to find Carel. We've been working together, and he's very kind. He's very correct. He's helped us come a long way, and so hopefully we'll have a good session this morning. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat or pipe in and ask. And I'm going to turn it back over to Carel and see where he takes us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Appreciate it. I want to introduce myself to those people who don't know me. I see a few people they have met, or I have spoken to them before. I want to keep it short, because when you really want to know what I have done in my life, you can go to Google, Carel Eijkenaar Dressage, and find my CV there. But in big lines, I will say a little bit, talk a little bit about my history and why I have been always a person who was very keen on the welfare of horses from the beginning on. And that is what we are missing today in modern times, that very often the welfare of the horse will be compromised, especially in the dressage, but also in the other disciplines that we have, cross country and jumping. I started in the Netherlands, and I was lucky enough to met a guy in the time in the Netherlands who had a few Lipizzanes in his stable. That was by the university in Leiden, and that was by the Herr Kok, was his name. And I started having lessons with him once a week, once in 2 weeks, because that was amazing and expensive in those years. So I collected the money and went there whenever I was able to go. That did give me a base, and then I was lucky enough to meet Mr. Hazelinski. And Hazelinski was the manager director in the time from the Spanish riding school in Hungary. Very classic, very correct, very highly level of knowledge. And I started working with him. And then after, when I got a little bit older, because I was quite young, I was 15 when that started, and in the meantime I was on the racetrack and I was at the pony club, then I said, you know what I want to do? I want to make for my hobby my profession. I have to say that was the most important decision, I think, in my life, because to be able to make from your hobby a profession, what I succeeded in, makes your life pleasant. That's what I did. So after I did my final examination as riding instructor trainer, what I did already when I was 18 years old, just before the army, in the army time. So I did my finals, then I went into the army, and then after the army I said to myself, but this is all nice and good, you are certified, and many people think then, okay, we know it all, and I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I know how to sit on a horse and not to fall off the horse, but that's it. So, and then I competed already. I competed on the St. George level, intermediate level. And then I had a girlfriend, she was in Germany after the army. And she was on the Verdner auction. And I said to myself, I would like to go to Germany to see how it works in Germany. And I went to Germany, and I fell in love with everything what happened in Germany. I mean, according to horses. And I said, I give up my job. I had a hell of a job. And I did give it up. And I went to Germany to ride on the Verdner auction. And then one morning, Keuler, that was the manager there, said, Carel, what do you have in mind to do with your life? I said, I would like to work with one of the best dressage coaches available in Germany. And I knew how difficult that was, because I was not the only one. There were many people like me who wanted to do the same thing. Then about a week later, he said to me, somebody is waiting for you, he wants to talk to you. I said, where's the person who wants to talk to me? He said, he's outside by the jumping arena. Mr. Teodorescu. I did hear the name, but I had no idea how the man looks like. So I went outside, and there's a group of people by the jumping arena, and one person was standing there, half leaning against the fence, and I had no idea. So I passed the guy, and then I hear my voice, Carl. So I turn around, and then he said, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "I suppose you are Mr. Teodorescu." He said, "Yes, that's me." So I shake hands. And then in very short, he told me, more or less, without that I could say anything back, "You come to work for us as a working student. And we pick you up after the auction." And that happened. I was surprised. I didn't know how to react on it. But what do you do? And since a person asked you if you want to work or not, even did he ask me if I want to work, he said, "You have to, or you come to work." So that was the best and the most difficult part of my life. I was 4.5 years living in his house with him and his wife. And then Monica, Monica was 1.5 years old. And then I did realize that I was lucky to work with such a man. And my whole thinking about training horses and riding horses and everything what belongs to it is 80% from that time. So now I want to finish this, because the rest you can find. I trained in America. I trained all around the world, up to Grand Prix level, riders and horses. So I see, and I'm very happy that I see a lot of people in the meantime that I was talking did enter our conversation. We want to talk about welfare of horses. We want to talk about dressage. What is dressage all about? And dressage is not what many people think who are not educated, and they go to shows, that it is a kind of circus, that it is a kind of the horses are doing all kind of tricks. In a modern time today, you could almost say, yeah, it is a kind of trick riding, because of very high tension and many mistakes are made. And when you compare it with 25 years ago, then you said the picture doesn't belong to the picture, doesn't even fit into the picture from 25 years ago. The horses performed completely different than 25 years ago. But that is not the only thing what is changed, but also is different. But in my opinion, and who I am, is wrong, that those horses, they all show the same major mistake. They go behind the vertical line. They always go with the croup high, never with the croup down, not even with the piaffe and the passage. The flying changes are crooked. The pirouettes are not pirouettes anymore, they're much too large. The basic rhythm in walk is not basic correct walk, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 legs in the same side, but not in the same time. The trot is not anymore diagonal with a suspended moment. It is very often one leg. The canter is 4-bit canter, not anymore 3-bit canter. So everything is wrong. Wrong according to the rules that we still have and still are and should be accepted by all riders. Of that is a young horse or that is Grand Prix horse, and by all judges, of they judge Grand Prix or young horses. Because, and then we come to what is dressage? Dressage is an education what start not earlier than 3.5 years old horse, and not before. By some horses even later, because they develop later. A big horse where people think he is strong can start earlier. What is the wrong thing? Because they are too weak. And a smaller horse, we can start with 3.5 because they are more adult and more grown up in their body. So we have a big dilemma here. That we have to think about the welfare of the horse. We have to think about what are we doing with the horse, because otherwise we ask the horse to do things what they cannot do. Mentally they cannot do it, and physically they cannot do it either. And then the horse starts to show us that they're not happy with us. And then by most of the people, and also by, I don't say all trainers, for sure not, but by many trainers, use a little bit more here and do, and that almost use a little bit more is more power and more hand and more leg and more spur and more bit, etc. And there we go. Because here we don't understand that the horse cannot give the answer that we ask him to give to us because he is not ready to do it. So the horse have only one way to explain to us that they cannot do the job. And that is by, we call that, and I think it's stupid to say it, resisting. No, the horse is not resisting. Resisting is a completely different thing. That's a horse who knows exactly how to do all the exercises, what he was taught in his life, up to age level. Yeah, and then they say, we don't like to do it. Then you have to be a very good horseman, an extremely good trainer with many, 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 many years under the belt to know if this is a no answer because he cannot do it, or this is a no answer from I show you the finger, I don't do it. So you see that we have to think first about the horse and not first about our interest, our ego. We have to go to the show and we have to show the people in our neighborhood that we ride better than anybody else, or we win the show. And then the horse have to be forced to do it. And here we go on the face. Now, it's not only that we, as riders and as trainers, that we made mistakes. No, also the judges are making mistakes. Because the judges, and I don't say all the judges, again, I don't say all judges, but most of the judges, they don't know exactly how it should be. You have to understand as a judge that you have to understand the situation as situation with the rider in the arena, and according to that you judge what is right and what is wrong by knowing why the horse is not able to do it. Because when I see a horse coming into the arena behind the vertical, and I see the horse with an open mouth and a tongue over the bit, then I know already, even when the rider makes the turn in front of me, coming from the center line, that this be a very bad test, and that the horse is in stress. But when judges cannot see that, or when judges say, it's not too bad, there you go already wrong. So what happened then? Because it is a circle of misunderstanding. I don't say stubbornness in modern riding, but it's misunderstanding. It is misguided on all sides. Then a rider gets his points, he goes home, and then everybody is happy because the judge was a nice lady, a nice gentleman. We got 7s and we got 8s and we deserve 4s and we deserve 5s, but who cares? We get it. And then we come home, we say, okay, we made it. Look, my score is 7.5 average. And then the trainer, when it is a correct trainer, gets an issue with the student. Because he tried to explain the student from in reality, you wrote a lousy test. Most of the trainers don't have the guts to say so, but I do. You wrote a lousy, and you very heavily overscored. And then the student said, but look what I got. Look what I got. What do you have to complain? I got this and this and this and this. And then you have to try to work on that. So what I try to explain in this introduction, that when we don't understand why a horse needs his time to develop, then we run into issues. When we don't understand conformation of the horse, what is very important, how is the horse made? And according to how the horse is built and how his movements by nature are, as a good trainer, then I know what kind of exercise, what kind of training I have to do with such a horse to make it possible for the horse to come as close as possible to be able to perform the way we want it and how it is explained on paper in every national federation and the FEI, who are using the same written material, what is made 100 years ago, how a horse should perform. And when it is in the basic wrong, then on the end, it is even more wrong. We cannot, when we have in the basic issues and we don't work that out, then in the Grand Prix, then it's too late to work it out. And that is why it's important. That is why I want to put the emphasis on the first part of this discussion. When we don't understand where the problems are, then we can never make a rider and a horse coming together and perform according to the rules set and accepted by everybody in the horse world. So this is what I want to say in the opening. Are there any questions from anybody that I see here on my screen?
Everyone's muted. Tell them everyone is muted. So
I don't hear anybody.
yeah, because everyone is muted, so I can unmute.
Everybody's muted, so my wife is opening now.
1 minute.
How do you do that?
I am doing it now.
Okay.
Unless they muted themselves, so. I think everyone.
I think that everybody muted themselves. So if and when you have a question, you have to unmute yourself so that they can hear. I see one person in Germany, Greta, connected to audio. Greta, what is your question? And Hans. Something.
Hi, hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hi, very good. Thank you very much. I got only the last 10 minutes because I was still working.
Yeah.
But in kind of like the things you're talking about, it's a lot of the things that I hear kind of behind the scenes being spoken about more and more. And there seems to be a little bit kind of like a discrepancy. So on one hand, there's been presented this information about the things how the things should be done for the benefit of the horse. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you go into the arena and you try to do these things according to like the correct training, but then they are being overlooked because you don't show the class, you don't show the flash, you don't show the things that people are kind of expecting to see because everybody's seen all the big moving horses, right? So yeah, and then like you do these things and you don't get kind of rewarded in the arena for them. So then from the perspective of the judges, I know that there is some shift happening at the moment as well. But do you think, like, is the FEI actually going to kind of stand up to the accusations that they have been getting for the fact that they are rewarding riders and not horses? So they are rewarding all the bad things that we are talking about here, and kind of nobody really does anything. As you say, everyone's happy, owners are happy, riders are happy, and it's kind of being brushed under the rug most of the time.
I can only totally agree with you. And that is the argument that, and the frustration also, by me and a larger group than just me. And that are people who are international, very well known. For example, Stukelberger, Olympic and world champion, and made 21 Grand Prix horses in her life, and many others. And we talk about it on a regular basis, and we try to send the message out also to the FEI. And we are very critical. I'm, for example, amazing critical when I really open my mouth. And we try very hard, and we have to see, or we do see at the moment, a very small change in performance on the top level. So there is something going on. But the FEI is like the government. I always say, when you want to change something, you have to start 5 years before you want to have to change. Yeah, it works very slow, amazing slow. But there is But there is a lot of opposition, and the opposition against changing course again have to do with the following. We have horses today, we breed horses today because of the mistake what is made 25 years ago by accepting the whole cure, yeah, that we have horses today in top sport who, even when they will be written different, not can produce the picture from 25 years ago. They are very fleshy in the front legs. They are very long in the back and very often in the kidney area hollow. Their back legs, when you present them and you let them stay, you always see that they stand with the hocks, yeah, behind their own sit bone. Now, to bring those horses underneath is amazing difficult because in conformation they're wrong. So, but these are the horses who brings enormous amount of money in the auctions. So we have to, and that is what we are working on. We have to change not only how the judges see the horses and re-educate the judges, because most of the judges that we have, they come from a time, yeah, that the really good, correct performance for Dr. Rainer Klinko, Georgie Theodorescu, Willy Schulteis, Bubi Kunter, and I can give 100,000 names, they haven't even seen it. They only have seen it on film, but not in real. They never were in the discussion about when we saw that this whole cure idea, what came from Holland, from Chef Janssen, how this did ruin the sport as sport. And then I use the word sport, I should not even use the word sport, the art of performance. So when we want to change, then we have to start by the judges, to educate the judges, without that you come up with any kind of excuse, a modern sport horse or a wagon horse or whatever it is. The horse have to perform according to what we know what is correct. So we have by the judges, we have to change course. When the judges change course, then we have to hope that very slowly in the breeding, yeah, that we go back to breed a horse, what we call a basic horse. A horse who is in Gleichgewicht, you say in German, yeah, in balance, totally in balance. That what the back leg is doing, yeah, goes together with the front leg, and not like we see today that the front leg is disconnected from the back leg. When we get there, slowly but surely, like you are asking yourself questions, what is a very, very fundamental correct question. Everybody have to start asking themselves the question, and then you can make a change. But there is another aspect in that we say also, but I talk very strongly about the welfare of the horse. When we don't change the attitude by the modern rider, that the horse cannot perform under force and that it will backfire on the long run, yeah, there also we have to make a big change. Today, you have the money, you buy yourself a horse, and it is then the modern dressage horse, and the modern dressage horse with 10, 11 said, okay, I don't do it anymore for you. I have enough from all this pulling and kicking. You buy yourself a new one. So also, so you see that the problem isn't a very large problem. It is the FEI itself, but that is a body. Yeah, and there's a lot of politics inside that have to change in how they will try to protect the horse. The breeders have to change, the dealers have to change, the trainers have to change, and then the riders will change with the whole system together.
No, it's the whole system kind of needs to change, which is very interesting because at the moment in my country, in Latvia, I actually I attended a clinic which was about judging for the dressage judging, and somehow it all ended up because there were breeders there and there were riders there and there were some judges there, and it ended up the discussion that basically because nobody speaks with each other, so breeders are complaining that there are not enough good riders to ride their horses. The riders are complaining that there are not enough good horses for them to ride, and the judges are complaining that everybody's doing everything wrong. So, and because there is sort of no quorum because nobody is actually talking with each other. So it's like everyone's talking kind of in their little corners and everyone's complaining to each other, but nobody comes out and says like, okay, so we have this problem, how do we solve it? And then that clinic ended in now there actually being a big meeting for the breeders and the riders and the judges in the country. So, and there's actually going to be a discussion about this, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know that this is something that is a big problem in a lot of countries, which is not sort of the big countries like Germany and England, where you have very well established rules for the welfare of the animals, and which are actually responsible in the eyes of the government if you do something wrong. But for example, countries like Baltic states, where I'm from, you have kind of general guidelines for general animal welfare, but you don't have specific rules for horses and how you are. So you can say FEI this and FEI that, but it's actually not enforceable. And people are not aware of all like any of these guidelines that they're supposed to be. They are just doing they're literally doing what they're being told and what they're being taught to do. So it is kind of like, it is on a smaller level for every person to be responsible. And
That's
as well,
the
because it
point.
has to be built up, it has to be on a governmental level as well, because there has to be a responsibility.
Yeah. But that is what I try, or what we do as a group. And now we see here also, we see about 20 people here on the screen, that it is our responsibility. The riders, a person like you, everybody who rides horses has the responsibility to go after those that they see in their own, even when it's pony club, where they copy the big stars. And it is up to all of us, immediately when you see it, to try to explain that this kind of behavior towards the animal is absolutely unacceptable and wrong. And we have to work it up from the basic and a new understanding for what an animal is and should be for us. Not a tool we use and we throw him away because he doesn't do well, because we think that he doesn't do well, but he cannot do well because we are too stupid to understand that this horse have only one opportunity and is saying no on the cruelty of the kid or the adult in the saddle. And we have to be open about it. That is my fight, what I have already for many years since I do what I'm doing. Yeah, I always did it also when I was a coach and a trainer, because cruelty, I could not accept cruelty. I said to my students, when this is the way you want to ride, then not with me. Better that I pick up fruit from the trees and stay alive than that I have to make a compromise about the welfare of the horse. That simple it is. So we see, and that is, you have Central Europe, and then you have Germany, and you have Holland, and you have Switzerland. Switzerland went so far that when a person sees that a person is mistreating a horse in a riding facility or anywhere, he can make an official complaint by the police. The police have to investigate it. And I don't say it will happen, but the person who is mistreating the horse can get a fine or even can be put in jail. In Germany, they went also very far now that the whole cure, etc., is not anymore allowed. Now, in many cases, the riders, they are afraid for the consequences of doing it in public. So in public, we see a large group of people who behave and ride correctly. What they do at home is very difficult to control. In Denmark, for example, there were judges already caught, riders who mistreated the horse in the stable, beat them up, etc., in the stable, pull them in how you call it, in the side reins and let the horses standing the whole night long and looking for the belly button. So there is a movement in the right direction, but the movement is still too small. But we are, and I don't want to be always negative or sound negative, because I'm sharp with my tongue, very sharp, by the way. This will always work for me because people don't like me for it, but we have to see, like what we do now, this should be done by many people who have proven, like I have proven, to make Grand Prix riders, Grand Prix horses, where their horses up to the age of 20 years old and older are still competing, were competing. So we are in the right direction. Yeah. Any other questions?
Exactly. Thank you very much.
My
I
pleasure.
will mute myself now.
That's why we are here. We are here to open a discussion what benefits or will benefit on the end the horses as horses, but also will benefit us as people, that those who, like you said in the beginning, who do perform well don't get the points. Yeah, I don't go to the show for the points. I go to the show when I was competing. I went to the show to see if my way of training and riding, did fit the horses and did fit in the time, the requirements. I had no interest to win a show, even when I did win many shows, but that was absolutely not my interest. Yeah. Good. Any other questions? I don't hear more questions. Good. Laura, maybe a question herself.
Yeah, I'll throw one out to you. Kind of where I started with you. If you could talk about correct forward versus what we see with a lot of over tempo today, and
Very good question.
how to tell the difference and address that.
Yeah. Everybody is screaming forwards, forwards, forwards. What is forwards? Forwards is very simply to explain. A horse what is forwards is a horse who takes me, when I sit on him correctly, with him forwards in the movement without that he walks away from me and that I have to interfere with my hand to stop him. Forwards is also a horse who is in, what we say in Germany, intact und Regelmaß, in der Bewegung, in balance, in the movement. A horse who is hurried in the stride shows irregularity in the footfolk, in the walk, trot, and canter. Also a horse who is, let's say, chased forward by riders. Those riders, they try to put that horse in the hole cure and they're closing their hands and pull the horse backwards. Right away that influence in the footfolk of the walk, trot, and canter. A horse who is in canter then start to lean more and more on the forehand and start to go from a 3-bit canter into a 4-bit canter when we are able to slow them down. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So left from behind, right from behind, left from behind, right in the front, left in front. Yeah. What you see by the walk, by the trot, you see horses get so hurried in the movement that the covering of ground, what they do, where the horse always have to track with the back leg into the footprint of the front leg, is stepping further and further and further away with his back leg from the front leg. So that ends up, and specific in the modern horses, we see today modern horses, they do trot and they land on one leg. They have always to land on 2 legs and then suspension and land on the other 2 legs. So the movement as movement is not clear anymore. And the walk exactly the same. You see horses, they go in camel walk. Yeah, why they go in camel walk? They set forward, forward, forward. So they chase the horse so fast forward from behind that you speed up the movement from his back leg so far that he start breaking up and start to go lateral. Now, when we think, or when we get taught that is forwards, and then you come to a good judge, the first thing what the judge have to take in consideration to give the marks is of the footfall of the walk, the trot, and the canter is correct. That the horse is in balance. And when that is not the fact that they are in balance and correct in the footfall, then they should be pointed low. And the judge also should be pointed right away out. You ride your horse over tempo. Look at yourself. You have a specific reach with your legs when you run. Yeah? When you go over tempo, and when you don't balance yourself in your upper body, that you stay above your point of gravity, you fall on your nose. So by the horses it's the same. You work them over tempo. Yeah, they move in front of their point of gravity. What they do, the stride gets shorter, and in some cases even they lose balance and fall on the nose. So forwards is not chasing a horse off the leg around the arena. I hope I answered the question there. Hello?
Yeah, that was a great answer. Hopefully somebody else has some questions to ask.
Yeah. I always know. I mean, first of all, today I'm very happy to see so many people on the first time. But people always are very scared to ask questions. And they think that their question is dumb. There is no dumb question. When a question keeps you busy means that it is a question. And I saw a professional, I don't call his name, he said he had a mark from that he hated to have people who ask him dumb questions. Highly, very fair, very well, successful, top rider. There is no such a thing as a dumb question. It keeps you busy. You have an opportunity to put it forwards, then put it forwards, don't feel ashamed. Okay, so when there are people who want to ask, go ahead. What you have here, Kelly? To be honest, without my wife, nothing will work for me. They say that was the first thing I saw when I was a young kid. I was by Max van der Velde, and I had to do clerk work, do administration. As a youngster already, he said, marking out horse you can do for the rest of your life, but you have to learn to run a company. But anyhow, there was a lady that was a little bit the sponsor of Max in the time, and she put a sentence that was in a frame: behind every successful man is a woman tells when he does things wrong. And I love about it because I think very often that is the case. Yeah, but that by side. When we continue then with our discussion of our explanation, how I see that, and I have to keep it a little bit in a frame because otherwise it gets too wide and then we lose track. But I always start from what is the most important thing when I start with a student, because I teach a lot online. Then I let them write, and then I try what is difficult for me, because I can hardly hold my mouth, not to say anything. And I let them ride because I want to see how they ride their horse when I am not there, when I'm not present. Because I want to see and get an idea about how do they influence the horse with using their body. And that right away gives me an indication why the horse cannot do a proper circle and a proper change of rein and a proper transition to canter, a proper transition to walk. Because 90% of the time, the rider's body is in the way. And that is very often the reason that many horses are not willing to cooperate with the rider. Then the rider said, my horse is not submissive. But he cannot be submissive because the question that you asked is wrong. I mean, when I lean forwards and then I want that the horse will extend the trot, that cannot work. And when I sit opposite from the direction and I want to go to left canter, then the horse cannot do it. So the sit of the rider is the most important part by when you start teaching, and when you ride yourself also today. Every time again, you have to work on your sit. When you work correctly on your sit and you start to understand when you pick up your right toe from your left foot, that the horse will react on it. That is why, I was for half a year on the launch. Every freaking day I was on the launch. I had not even a saddle the first 3 months under my behind, and I had not even reins in my hands. Because with a correct sitting rider, the Spanish riding school and all the top, in my time, in the time, you were not 4 or 5 times on the sitting lesson, so that at least you didn't fall off the horse and then you get in the group. No, you were on the launch, still you had an independent sit. What is an independent sit? An independent sit is a sit of the rider under all circumstances will go with the movement of the horse without to interfere in the balance of the horse. Now, this is for me, even today, I work with the people on their sit. I don't talk about with the people ride your horse on the bit. I can't care less. I want that the rider sits in balance above the horse, that he doesn't go against the movement, and then when his hands are controlled, nicely quiet, the horse put himself on the bit. Because why should the horse go with his head in the sky and with his head to the left and to the right when there is no reason for it? And what is the reason? That's the incorrect use of the sit of the rider, and that is why the horse is in a conflict with the rider. And that ends always up in a very, very, very unstable, unsteady contact with the mouth of the horse. Even when you don't want to pull, you start pulling when you lose your balance. You will fall to the left, to the right. What you do, you react with your hands to hold your balance. So the horse gets some pressure on the mouth, doesn't deserve the pressure, doesn't know what to do with it, doesn't know where it comes from. And then we have the other thing, then we go to Lauerbeck. What is a horse who is forwards? Who goes forwards, takes us with him in the movement without that he runs away from us. But he runs away from us when we constantly with our upper body and with our legs are bringing those horses out of balance. Because he has no choice. He doesn't want to do them. No, he has 4 legs and we sit on top of them like a JoJo, from left to right, up and down, behind the movement, for the movement, big out of the saddle, small in the saddle, a tight leg, a whole list. So the horse is doing one thing. What is he doing? He is looking for a way that he is not falling on his head. And then we said the horse is not willing to work with me. Yeah, but he cannot work with you. Because you didn't even try to find out that you should control your sit. So what I work very hard on with my riders, that is fix the sit, get an independent hand. What doesn't mean tutty riding and not coming in contact with the mouth of the horse, because also there I don't believe in. I never touch the mouth. For sure, you have to find the communication. But when your horse is nicely on your leg and goes towards the front, doesn't run away, then he starts looking for contact with my hands. And when I have then a sensitive hand without a hand to pet the, oh, it's so nice, it's so cute, oh, your papa pee, oh, your papa po, and never touch the mouth. No, you make contact. But the contact what you make should never go backwards. You should never pull on the mouth. But it doesn't mean that you should always give on the mouth. Because that is wrong. Because when you always give on the mouth, you give on the mouth, you give on the mouth, and then you touch the mouth, then the horse resists the hand of the rider, because he's not used to it, that there is contact, communication going on between hands, sit and rider, leg of the rider, with the aim to ride forwards, and then to come into the bridle, and that you are able to go straight on the track. Now, this is for me the most important part. And that is in the Spanish riding school is today not anymore Spanish riding school, but still they sit for 1 year on the launch. Bij Theo de Resco, Georgie Rood Grand Prix, Inge Rood Grand Prix. Yeah, Inge is less known as Georgie, but he was his wife. And I do believe, and I was 4.5 years in the stable working and living in the house, that Inge had a large influence on the success of Georgie, because nobody should forget that she was standing behind him as a woman, but she was an amazing woman, I can tell you that. Yeah, but that is a story by side. So we rode our horses warming up, and then after 10 minutes warming up, we took the stirrups off, and we put him in front of the saddle, and then he rode without stirrups. So you see, and that was normal. Bij Rainer Klimke en bij Bobby Günther. And that was a normal thing that did happen. Why did it happen? To make the rider aware that he cannot look for a a balance point by standing on the stirrups to try to keep his balance. No, that he have to keep his balance by using his pelvis. So this is missing today. Because when we go to the negative side of modern dressage today, see the saddles. I mean, how can you sit in such a saddle, I ask myself. I will get a high voice. There's no place for my sit. It's terrible. The big blocks in front of my knees, and then you see the riders, and then we talk about the sit now. They are water skiing. The legs are four. They're hanging backwards, behind point of gravity. Yeah, there should be a line from the shoulder to the sit bone to the heel of the rider. And their legs is on the shoulder, and it is terrible. And then we see the horses are pulling, and that is the modern way of dressage riding, because the front is huge, and the back legs cannot come under anymore. No, but they cannot come under. When you sit in that position, you hang on the kidney area. The horses, they get cramps there. They already built in it with a too long back. What is so anyhow negative for a horse to collect himself when he is too long in the back. And then they hang backwards on those horses. This is the major issue. This is what leads to why and when is a horse forwards, what I answered by Laura. And when the horse is not forwards, why is the horse not forwards? This all, I mean, you have lazy horses, you have overactive horses, you have horses with history from the racetrack. Yeah, they have to get used to the sit of the rider, used to the legs. But when a rider sits in balance of the horse, absolutely in balance under all circumstances, then the horse doesn't feel the need to change what nature have given to the horse. And that is, under normal circumstances, a friendly character and a balanced walk, trot, and canter. Every horse. When you let a horse free in the arena, and your horse is under the rider, out of balance, and you let the horse free in the arena, they can all walk, trot, and canter, totally in balance. So when do this shit start? It starts in the moment that we put our behind in the saddle on the horse's back. And then we try with our hands and other to try to put the horse in a frame. And because we are doing that, we put him in a frame, he is losing what nature did give him, a good walk, trot, and canter. Because I've never seen a horse without a rider. Yeah, or they are lame because they are injured. But I never have seen a young horse without a rider in their back who cannot walk, trot, and canter. So now we have to ask ourselves the question, why is it that under the rider they show all these negative things? Now the answer is giving. I hope I have given the answer. Yeah. Good, I want to close this topic and ask any questions, because I don't want to go too far away from what I think what's important in the first meeting that we have. Where do we start and where do we wound up? And we don't want to end up in the Grand Prix tomorrow. And I think that most of the riders most of the people I see here are people who are working on the level 2 or level 3. Yeah. And I hope that this will continue to exist, this kind of meetings, where I can help the people in their way of thinking and riding. Yeah, even maybe later on the video we will see. Yeah.
Hey, Carel, we've got a great question from Joanne.
Okay.
How can I improve if my 6-year-old is heavy in the contact, but he's okay forward? So forward horse, but heavy in the contact.
Many transitions. Many transitions. Yeah, you have horses, they have a tendency. Now also it is for me, I have to see in reality a picture of those and a video of those, but when you have, let's say, a downhill built horse, where the croup is, when they stand on a concrete floor, flat on a concrete floor, where the houndjes is higher than the withers of the horse, yeah, and when the neck comes quite deep out of the shoulder, that are very difficult horses to make them work uphill and light. But when it is a horse who is balanced, where the wither and the croup, yeah, are on the same height, where the back legs are willing to come under or stand by nature under the hip of the horse, and he is still heavy and the neck is fine. Yeah, very, very, very transition after transition after transition, where you have to try, and that is very often, because how much leg should I give to engage the horse without that the pressure goes down on my hands? That is a matter of feeling and guidance from a trainer on the ground to say, this is what you can do with your leg. He's nice forwards, but with a little bit less leg, you push him less on the forehand. But then again, I said, I have to see such a horse. But transitions, a horse who is heavy in the hand of the rider is very often is only you can correct them when you ride a circle and you make a transition. You change rein to the gate and you do the other side. And you maintain doing that. Also, what helps then is to influence the horse with your voice. Yeah, when I can come that the horse understand, oh, and then he comes back on me, and then I have my sit and my leg a little bit on the horse, then the horse comes under from behind. So the horse can be nice forwards. I cannot see it, but he's nice forwards. I believe the owner of the horse. Then it can be that he is over-pressurized by the rider's leg, or in sitting trot with the rider's sit, so that he has no alternative, because there is in conformation something wrong in the front, yeah, that with the activity that I create, he cannot lift himself up. I cannot say anything more about it, because I have no picture of the horse. Yeah, I hope I answered that question.
Okay, so we've got sort of a follow-up. Let me
Yeah.
see if I can paraphrase a little bit. And this is a topic of a lifetime of study of how going forward leads to collection. So you can't collect if the horse doesn't go forward, but I don't know. So what are your thoughts on straightness forward and getting to collection?
There is a logic build up, the scala of training, we call that, yeah, or the logic of training, the pyramid of training. A horse has to be forwards on the pressure of the sit of the rider and in contact with the hand of the rider when he is young. And then slowly but surely, by riding transitions, we teach the horse to take more weight on his back legs. What is then, we bring them in a horizontal balance. The most important exercise for that is shoulder in. Shoulder in is in reality the most important exercise to teach a horse to be able to bring weight from the front to his back legs. To give him a lift up in the outside shoulder and a more understepping with the inside leg from behind. And that leads us then to the travers, to the renvers, to the half pass, where we create, because there is a light form of collection, we create also suppleness, flexibility and suppleness. And when that, all of it, because that is how the dressage tests are built, when all of that are able to be done in the level correctly, then on the end you come to piaffe and passage. You don't have to teach a horse. I mean, that is the wrong way of thinking. I teach him piaffe and passage. No, you don't teach him piaffe and passage. You teach him to be straight and forwards with the opportunity and capability to flex left and right and bend left and right. And then the rest, when shoulder in is so established, that is all possible, that to ride one tempi changes, piaffe and passage is a piece of cake. And when all of that is not established in a young horse, and then you try to do it, then you get more than dressage. Then you said, okay, I kick him left, I kick him right, I do here, I do there. And then you see it also, the flying changes. A flying change have to be on the diagonal from corner to corner on an absolute straight line. Where the hound stays on that line and where the shoulder goes a little bit left and a little bit right. He jumps from the shoulder to left and to right. What do we see today? I don't want to be negative. They throw the croup from left till right. It is terrible to watch it. It has absolutely nothing to do with a flying change. And why is that? Because the horse is not, and that is what you asked me, to collect the horse is not taught to be correctly straight. Where the houndjes of the horse to follow the line of the shoulder and the front legs. I hope that I give the answer.
That's a brilliant answer. I wish we could post it for the world to see and understand.
I'm not the only one. I mean, I have Christoph Ackerman who predict this tells the same story, very classical trainer. Yeah, was by a famous, one of the most classical trainers in Germany in the time. Yeah, his name I'm terrible. I get all the names don't come up so fast anymore. I need a new computer, but there was not a new computer available for me. But no, my brain works still well. But Christine Stukelberger, for example, and a very classical thinker, and always also classical teacher Henk van Bergen in Holland. Yeah, so there still are people. I am not the only one. Maybe I am one of the ones who is very clear in what I think and don't care who's listening. I am not political. For me, the horse is essential. The horse is the center of my life, always, and I hope till the end of my life. So I talk for them. But there are other people. I mean, there is a veterinarian in France who is very hard working, busy to get things organized, even by the FEI. So we are not the dying out kind. The group gets smaller, but I hope on the end, what the question was in the beginning by the lady in Litauen, I think she came from, yeah, how do we change course? And I answer, we change course, but it will be very slowly. But there are, and let's say now I see many names here in front of me, yeah, and some of them I know. And that is also what I hope what will happen, that people spread the word, that it doesn't stay for yourself, that you say, I was listening to a crazy guy, he lives in Tel Aviv, in Israel, etc., yeah, spread the word. Because the more people will understand why it is wrong, then you force them to think, and then maybe they change course. And that is how, and then we go political, in the time the wall in Berlin, the wall in Germany, fell by the push of the people. Because there were so many people who were convinced that what was done to them was wrong, that there was no gun and no tank and nothing in the world that could stop those people from changing course. And I hope that that also will happen in our world. You know, you cannot reach everybody. But when you reach a small part of them, and each small part reaches another small part, then we get massive, then we get large, then we get big. And then the governments, and there was also what was put forward, then the governments have to go with us. Because why do you think in Germany they changed? And in Holland, I'm not so sure about it. But in England also they changed. In Denmark they changed. In Switzerland they changed. Do you really think they changed because they were so interested in what happened in the horse world? No, but there were so many people that they are dependent on, that they get their votes to stay in the government, that they have to give attention to those people. And we are those people. We are the people who have to bring out the story to the people in the government. And then we hope to see change. Good. Any other question? I don't want to go political.
Joanne had a follow-up, and
Yeah.
I'm not 100% clear. She's talking about her horse tilting his nose to the outside, I believe, when she's doing shoulder forward or shoulder in, and whether to try to be heavier on the outside rein. I don't know. So maybe talk a
Yes.
little bit about that.
Tilting of the head is an issue with the balance in the mouth. But the balance in the mouth is related to the correct stepping under with both legs on a straight line. So when the horse tilts to the right, and most of the time the horse is too heavy on the inside, let's say to the right, and he is too heavy on the left rein, yeah, and there are, I don't say leaning, but more contact on the left rein and brace contact with the right rein. Then the inside leg of the horse have to be engaged more, yeah, and then there is a chance that you get rid of it. It is when you feel in your hand that, for example, the horse tilts to the right, that you set on the left side, I get a kind of a dead feel, but I lose contact on the right rein, then the horse can tilt. When he is on the right rein, then he doesn't tilt. Yeah? So it is not willing to step on the left side, for example, when it is to the right, on the left side, really under himself, in the line of the right front leg, when he is in a shoulder for shoulder in position. Then the horse starts tilting, 90% of the time. Can you change it? Yeah, you can change it by working correctly. But for example, you can try what sometimes will help. Yeah, to the right with your outside hand a little bit higher. And then with your inside hip a little bit more forward, that you really get that inside leg more under. But again, then I have to see it. I mean, here I always say you have to understand the theoretical part of what is in the major big books correctly explained. Muslar and Steinbrecht and Podolsky, and I can give a whole list. But the theoretical knowledge only gets value and will be understood when the rider, and I will come back again, I come back to the correct sitting rider who feels where the problem sits and knows by correct use of aids and body to find an answer on the problem. So an advice for everybody, reading all the books is perfect. But reading the books and understanding the books is a completely different story. When I was by Georgie, and one time I saw it in the festival, where we always had our dinner in the evening. And then Georgie came to me, he said, Carel, it's time that you start, I was about a year by him, a little bit longer, that you start to read a book. I said, okay. So he went to the library and in his house. And he did bring me Muslar. And I said, thank you very much. I said, but I did read Muslar already 2 times. He said, yeah, but then you did read Muslar without feeling or able to feel what the words in the book of Muslar means. And he was right. Because when I wrote Muslar, when I did read Muslar again, then I said, yeah, that's how it feels when I sit on my horses. And I was lucky enough by Georgie, that I also could ride his horses. Or sometimes a horse from Inge. The schoolmaster taught me how it feels when you sit correct and when you sit incorrect and it doesn't work. So from there I did learn very often, or very easy already, that my influential sit can make the movement go correct or I fall on the face. And that is why I'm so fanatic on the good sitting rider. Yeah, good.
Good.
I think that was really helpful. Darren, did you have something?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, you're good, Darren. Darren is my best friend. I talk to Darren every week at every kind of thing, but we are close friends. But he is a fantastic horseman, a fantastic rider in jumping, rode for America on the top. And that's also important, for people like me. Sorry, I needed a slug of water. My wife takes care. For a person like me and also for Darren and more people who are and were on international level, that we can talk to each other, to keep track with each other. And so we can spread out the word to all the people that I see nice names here, and some of them Darla I like. And by the way, Darla, I have to say, I appreciate the fact that you did an offer, that you made an offer to the organizer of this clinic to help her to have a lesson with me. I'm very happy to see how you are connected and how you help other people in Laura. Yeah. So Darla, very, very much thank you. And other people I see here by name. Good, I want to finish it by this. I do seriously, I hope that we can make this a kind of an, let's say once a month or once in 2 months session. And then the next time that people write their questions.
Actually, I do have a question or
Okay.
a comment. Did you guys record this at all?
Yeah, we
Is it
record.
video?
Largeni did record it, and we hope that nobody has a problem with it. Then parts of this we will put on my Facebook site. So,
'Cause
but
I
what
think
I'm
that would
looking
help. That would
Yeah.
help so far as getting the word out a
Yeah.
little bit.
exactly, but I really hope that. I mean, the amount of people who did participate is more than I expected in the beginning. What will happen, but
Mhm.
I had a lot of fun myself, to be honest. I think that the questions who have been asked were interesting questions, and what I said before, and then we finish it. Let's always keep it in a frame that you don't go too far, and that it comes to blurry everything. Okay. I want to ask Laura to make the last word and to finish this session, and then I want to say thank you for everybody who did participate, and hope to see you in the near future again. Thank you very much.
Well
Thank you,
done.
Carl. Thanks, Carl, and thanks to everybody who participated. Great questions, really great information. The more we share this out, the better it is for the horses and for us. So look forward to doing this again. Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, bye-bye. Take care of all of you.
Okay, thanks for hosting.
Bye. Bye, Darren.
Bye.